Good day to all of you. So, our next topic is all about accidents at work. So, again, it's under the course Plant Safety Network. So, all about accidents. Of course, are inevitable, but it can be prevented. So, let's have a discussion of why accident happens and then what are the ways to prevent it. So, let's start our lesson. So, again, the topic is all about accidents at work. So, for the introduction of this lesson, according to statistical information from the International Labour Organization, the annual average number of accidents at work recorded in the last decade was 270 million, including 350,000 fatal accidents. So, what is the concept of an accident? So, the term accident is usually used to describe a sudden event, rarely predictable, that results in injuries or losses suffered by people. So, the mandatory requirements to record accidents, systems for establishing insurance and compensation claims, and analysis of accidents for purposes of scientific research have created a necessity to strictly define what events are and are not referred to as accidents. There is no single generally accepted definition of an accident or of an accident at work. However, accidents are commonly thought to be unintentional, adverse, and unplanned events. So, three different approaches to classifying accidents is we have first, an accident must be an injury. Next is an accident is an event, which together with the situation preceding it causes an injury, assumes that an injury is one of many possible consequences of an accident. So, accidents at work. So, the major feature of an accident at work is that the injury occurs during performance of occupational or work related tasks. So, it means that accident at work happens, of course, within the office hours, for example. So, an accident at work is a sudden event due to an external cause that results in injury or death and takes place in association with work under one or more of the following conditions. The first condition is, of course, is while the employee performs his or her ordinary tasks or the orders of superiors. Next is while the employee performs activities for the benefit of the employer even without being ordered to do so. And another is we have while the employee remains at the employer's disposal, including traveling between the employer's place of business and a place of performance of duties. So it also includes, as you can see, traveling. So it's not just in your workplace, traveling between the employer's place of business and a place of performance of duties. And then a given event is an accident at work if, apart from its correlation with work described above, so first is it occurs suddenly, that is, its duration does not extend beyond a single working day. Injuries do not have to be apparent immediately but may be delayed. Of course, there are injuries that are like that. They may not be apparent for the first day, but they will become visible on the days ahead. Revealed after a week, month, year, or later, it is correlated with an event that occurred in the course of employment. It is caused by an impulse from a source in the surroundings of the injured person, that is, outside the person's body, and it causes an injury defined as damage to bodily tissues or organs and is caused by an external factor. So, for the accidents at work, please watch the Ross Youngstrom story. So, it is produced by Oregon OSH. So, of course, the message here is always be safe. So, next is we have types of accidents at work. So, an individual injury is one that results from occurrence of a dangerous event and causes a single person to suffer trauma. Okay, that's the individual injury. Then we have another. A collective accident is an event that causes at least two persons to suffer trauma. And then we have a fatal accident. So I hope this won't happen. It is an accident that leads to the death of a person who suffers an injury during or within 6 months after the accident. So, fatal accident is not just classified as there's an accident today and unfortunately the victim died, but the duration is during or within 6 months after the accident. And then accidents that result in reversible health effects are commonly referred to as light accidents, meaning, for example, there are accidents and people are involved, and then those people are involved um, by means of therapy or, of course, hospitalization, and then they return to work as if nothing happened. So that is be classified as light accidents. So next is we have non-injury incidents. So a non-injury incident is an unsafe occurrence arising in the course of work in which no personal injury is caused. So the seriousness of dangerous events and their consequences are related to the frequency of occurrence. Disasters and collective fatal accidents occur less frequently than individual accidents. The most numerous are disturbances and events of non-injury incidents. So, one of the few functional definitions of a non-injury incident was presented on the 27th of April 2001 by the International Labour Organization in Guidelines on Occupational Safety and Health Management Systems, which is the incident, an unsafe occurrence arising out of or in the course of work where no personal injury is caused. So, in the company environment, non injury incidents are also referred to as almost accidents, incidents leading to material losses, and near misses are generally incidents. But of course, near misses, you are lucky this time. But what if you're not lucky anymore the next time the accident happened? So for that, so we have this safety pyramid. So there is a video. So in that video of the safety pyramid, so one serious injury or fatality for 10,000 unsafe behaviors and hazards. So meaning a serious injury or a fatal accidents rarely occurs compared with 10,000 unsafe behaviors and hazards. So next is we have the accident rate. The accident rate is the total number of accidents occurring within a given time, usually 1 year, presented using specific indices. So these are the accident rate indicators as you can see. So we have 3 for incidence rate, 2 for severity rate, and 1 for accident cost rate. So for the incidence rate, so number of accidents per 1,000 employees. So this is the formula for the incidence rate of number of accidents per 1,000 employees. So next is we have incidence rate, number of accidents per 100,000 working hours. So next is also the W sub 2, which is also an incidence rate, number of accidents per 1 million tons of product. And then next is we have the severity rate, W sub 3, so number of working days lost due to a single accident. So next is we have the W sub 4, another severity rate. So number of fatal accidents per 1,000 total accidents. And last but not the least is we have the accident cost rate. So the accident cost rate, W sub 5, is the average loss suffered due to a single accident. So, how are we going to apply these indices? So, indicators that use information on accidents can be applied to accident rate characteristics and are used to assess occupational risks. Indicators that relate the number of accidents to production volumes are a measure of the biological production cost. And then the remaining frequency rates, calculated based on the ratio of the number of accidents to the number of employees or to the hours worked, are indicative of the individual risk of loss of health or life at work at a certain establishment or in the performance of a specific task. So for estimating and assessing risk, incident rates are applied as a source of information on the number of accidents or losses suffered while manufacturing a specific output quantity. And then in service activities, the number of accidents should be related to the number of services performed, or in trade activities to the number of products sold. So we have here figure, a graph. There's an illustration, a company A, which is gray, and company B is dark gray. So for this, first is we have the number of accidents, then for company A, and then for company B. And then as you can remember, W is incidence rate, number of accidents per 1,000 employees. So for company A, and then for company B, so it means that the incidence rate for accidents, number of accidents per 1,000 employees is higher than company A is higher than company B. And in W sub 1, so it's also, as you can remember, this is also an incidence rate, number of accidents per 100,000 working hours. So they are almost the same. Okay, next is the duration of the incapacity to work due to an accident indicates the seriousness of its effects on the health of the injured person. Of course, the longer the duration, the incapacity of the employee to work because of the accident, meaning the accident really has a serious impact on the body of the employee, or the injured person. So we also have another example. So for this figure, frequency and severity of accidents at manufacturing and construction work sites. So this is in Poland, for example. So the light gray is for manufacturing, and then the dark gray is for construction. So as you can see again, remember W is number of accidents per 1,000 employees. So there are more accidents. So I think it's 13. 13 accidents in manufacturing, while in construction is we only have 11, as we can see in the graph. But as you can see with severity rate, W sub 4, so W sub 4 is number of fatal accidents per 1,000 total accidents. Though manufacturing has more number of accidents per 1,000 employees, but the severity is higher than construction. Of course, as you can see, construction is more dangerous than manufacturing. Of course, for example, if the construction is a sky-rise building, so there are trips, falls, and then sometimes, if inevitable, it also leads to death. So that's why construction has a higher severity rate than manufacturing. Okay, causes of accidents. So we have a video here. Again, unfortunately, for this video lecture, I can't show you, so that you have to watch the separate slideshow presentation. And of course, there are many resources in the internet that you can find what are the typical causes of accidents. So generally, the causes of accidents are caused by unsafe acts. Okay, next is we have concepts of accident causes and causality. So the term causality is an expression of the principle that every effect has a cause that precedes it. Simple causality is when events result from a single cause. So that's why it's simple. And then next is we have complex causality is when the observed effects arises from several causes. So as you can remember, for accident causality, there is a video of the domino effect. So there's a video on that, in which there is you can see in the presentation the version with the video here. As you can see, there's a person who does not wear a hard hat, and then he's a welder based on the animation, and then a block fall into his head, and then because of that one particular accident, the whole site um, the whole site fell, the scaffolding. So I know that it is exaggerated, but as one of the theory is the domino effect theory. So next is we have errors. So an error is any effect other than the expected effect in any course of activities different from the programmed activities. So an error may be defined as a deviation from correctness, so another definition by Reber, and reason has described human error as the failure of planned actions to achieve their desired ends without the intervention of some unforeseeable event. So, what are the types of errors? So, Rasmussen lists three types of activities. We have the automated, algorithmized, and knowledge-based. So most errors in automated activities result from inappropriate recognition of an initial condition which, despite being dangerous, was assessed as safe. So um, this is very dangerous because it's automated, then the condition is considered safe, while in truth, it is dangerous. And then next is we have an error in algorithmized activities may result from a mistaken recognition of the situation, causing the application of procedures or technologies that are not appropriate for the actual situation, which has been falsely identified. Actually, it's also dangerous for this one. And then next is we have knowledge-based error occurs when the conditions deviate from the existing standards and classifications, and when the known principles, rules, or algorithms are perceived as risky or insufficient to merit achievement of the desirable result. So this is a figure of the classification of errors. So error can be unintentional or intentional. So for unintentional, so it can be a proper plan, but you have improper activities. So we have, because of that, we have attentional slips of action and lapses of memory, or improper plan, but but you have proper activities. So these are mistakes. So mistakes due to lack of knowledge, or mistakes due to lack of familiarity with rules and procedure. This is for unintentional. So for intentional, so I hope that the errors are all unintentional. So again, intentional is violation of rules, standards, or regulation. Sometimes it is done by disgruntled employees, or those employees that who are not satisfied at their work anymore and wants to sabotage the operations of the company. So I hope this won't happen. I hope that if there is an error, if you really cannot avoid, I hope that it is unintentional. Okay, next is we have causes of errors. So the causes of unintentional errors are, among others, carelessness. So tendency to take risks, lack of competence, and or overload of work. Such errors may also result from intoxication. Of course, if you are stressed, sometimes people tend to smoke and tend to drink alcoholic beverages. And then next is we have stress, then illnesses, fatigue, and changes caused by aging. So intentional errors are associated with insufficient motivation to act safely. So I hope again, if you do have errors, I hope that if it's not inevitable, I hope that it will be unintentional. And then some behaviors that are excessively risky and dangerous constitute not only the intentional violations of safety regulations, but are also ways to achieve self-destructive goals. So next is we have explaining accidents. So an appropriate accident report explains the incident and the reasons for its occurrence. Of course, descriptions of the injury suffered, its direct cause, and the error that led to the activation of the potential hazard provide the required information on the cause and consequences of the accident. And then the order of occurrence of events illustrates the timeline of the accident, and its origin can be explained only by specifying the type and reasons for deviation from the expected standards. So post-accident activities include investigation of the accident to identify the perpetrators, their responsibility, and the compensation rights of those affected. Actually, I'm watching this show in Nat Geo, National Geographic, Air Crash Investigation. I was really, it's not really amazed, but of course, it's also a post-accident activities because you are going to investigate what happened, why this why this airplane crashed, commercial airplane crashed, or even it's not yet, it's in the runway, there's an accident happened. So actually that perked my interest, but on the long run, so I told to myself, if COVID will be solved, then if I'm going to travel, it's just like I'm imagining that I think I really can travel on air, because of course if there is an air accident or airplane accident, there's always a fatality. No one survives. If really there is someone who survives that air accident, airplane accidents, you are very lucky that you're still alive, because compared to other accidents, so knock on wood, so actually there's also a whole always a high fatality with airplanes. So okay, I'm not influencing you, it's just my opinion. Because of course airline industry is of course it's very dangerous actually, but by means of this post accident activities, they are using these post accident activities to impose new safety rules and regulations, so that accident won't happen again. So that's the good thing with that. So I hope that don't my sharing of this my view on, because actually my brother said that you I should not watch those air crash investigations, because it's really very it's very tragic. Of course, really tragic. Um, the many episodes that I've watched, there I think 1 out of 10 that I've watched, that there is a survivor. But 9 of the investigations that I've watched, unfortunately, the passengers and the crew are all dead. So, so of course, safety just does. Let's just pray for safety so that it won't happen to us. Okay, next is we have the accident causality theories. So, theories of accident causality, established in the mid 20th century, explained the emergence of accidents as resulting from the following. So, lack of professional competence or talent, and then lack of ability to adapt to safety and action procedures, lack of acclimatization to the physical environment, and management errors leading to diminished work satisfaction and morale of employees. So, as I've said, one of the accident causality theories is the domino effect. So we have this figure, so an accident resulting from a combination of multilinear sequences of events. So we have an example here. So this sequence A, from A sub 1 to A sub 3. So this figure refers to a workshop that employs people. So people is the sequence A, and then flammable materials are also stored there. So this B are the flammable materials. And welding is carried out in the vicinity. So welding, this is the sequence C. Due to the welder's error, the flammable materials catch fire, so that is D sub 1. And the fire, which is the dangerous event, results in burns suffered by the workshop employees. So that is the explanation or an example of an accident resulting from a combination of multilinear sequences of events. So next is we have post-accident processes. So the employer's obligations related to accidents at work are specified mainly in the labor code. So post-accident processes should include the following. So first is securing the location of the accident. Next is appointing a post-accident team. Next is investigating the circumstances and causes of the accident. Next is specifying preventive measures. And last but not the least is preparing post-accident documentation. So next is we have preparing for an investigation. Occupational health and safety specialists, social inspectors, and labor inspectors, as well as the employers, may investigate an accident. If the employer is unable to appoint a team due to an insufficient number of employees, a team consisting of the employer and a specialist from an external company should be appointed. And then to prepare for an investigation of the accident, the inspection area should be specified. the planned scope of investigation defined, and the necessary investigation equipment prepared. So next is the accident investigation methods. So an accident is a rare opportunity to learn from mistakes. So as I've said, as I've learned with the air crash investigation, so all they are really studying what happened in the accident. So the next time it will be prevented if that same situation occurred or event has occurred again. Of course, because um, airline accidents really, of course, is a fatal accident most of the time. Okay, next is the post-accident team gathers information on the event by inspecting the place of the accident. Next is interviewing the injured persons if their health condition allows it. So, what if, for example, in the airplane crash or accident, so almost all are or all of the passengers or crew are dead. So actually, so that's the use of the black box, and there's a recording of the conversation between the pilot and his first officer. So that's why actually while watching that show, I learned many things, such as, for example, so that's why every move or every command or every press of the button, they should state what did they do because it is recorded. So if anything happens, the investigators will always look for the black box, and this black box, even though the accident is tragic and it almost incinerated the whole airplane, what so good about these black boxes, they're still intact. So the evidence of what has happened, uh, where did the of course the pilot or the first officer mistakes are by means of their conversation. So next is we have interviewing witnesses, if any, and then familiarizing themselves with the doctor's opinion and familiarizing themselves with experts' opinions if necessary. So the accident investigation program is usually established from the preliminary data obtained during the inspection. Then when interviewing the injured persons or witnesses, questions that might suggest or influence an answer should be avoided. So the questions should be, it should not be biased or leading questions. As you can remember, leading questions is um you are pertaining you are the answers are directing to the answer that you want. Okay, next is we have the TOL method. So the TOL method is we have the technical, organizational, and human causes. So this is the figure. So first is we have to gather and gathering and organization of facts. Next is we have identification of probable sequence of events and the direct cause. So it can be you have to identify the technical causes, the organizational causes, and the human causes. And then next is identification of correlations between individual groups of causes. Okay, next is we have the fault tree analysis. So for the fault tree analysis, so we have a sample here. So type of possible connections between events using the fault tree method. So X slips, so X is slips and then Y is falls down. So a chain relation, one fact, one preceding event. So next is a coworker being absent. So So we have this, and then Y is working alone. And then next is this is a coworker being absent, conjunction, one fact, several preceding events. And then next is you have the urgent work. So comes late, and then because of coming late, so fails to change shoes, and of course a work delay. So next is a conjunction negation, several facts, one preceding event. And then we have two events, a newly hired employee, and then buses are late. So these are independent facts and they are not related. Okay, next is we have methods for introducing preventive actions using the fault tree method. So if we have this fault tree, so eliminate directly the accident factor or the factor that is one of the prerequisites for the occurrence of another factor. And then next is introduce an element preventing the occurrence of the accidents or accident. And then next is decrease the probability of one event and increase the number of prerequisites by introducing additional events. So this is an example of the fault tree analysis. So fault tree analysis using logic gates. Actually, you've been using this in digital electronics, but this can also be used in fault tree method. So burns is caused by inability to escape fast, and then it's an end gate, and because there's a presence of people and fire. So that's why you have burns. And then what is the cause of inability to escape fast? So there's a fire in the main exit and the back entrance is closed. And then for fire, so we have three. It should occur all at the same time. What's the cause of fire? There's fuel, there is flame, and of course there is air. And then what is the cause of the flame? So it's an OR gate, either of the three. So maybe someone is smoking, there's a power system defect, and a welding spark. So next is we have analysis of changes. So this method is used to identify the causes of accidents by comparing the normal, expected course of work activities and operations with the course of events that was changed as a result of disturbances. So this method requires the following for its application. First is identify the problem. So what happened? That's the key question. Next is specify the norm, what was supposed to happen. Then next is identify, locate, and describe the changes that occurred. Next is specify what, when, and where things change, and to what extent within what limits, size, and degree. And the next is specify what was violated, what constituted a deviation from the standard, and what was not caused by the changes. Next is identify the characteristic features of the changes, list the possible causes of the changes, and decide on the most probable causes of the changes. So next is we have the Gantt sequence sheet. So a Gantt sheet is a diagram representing a given sequence of events. So this is an example of a Gantt chart illustrating the sequence and duration of activities before and after a methane explosion. So it starts from the bottom. So there's a detection of pressure drop, and then methane detection, and then next is we have the open fire, and then explosion, gas after combustion, firefighting, rescue actions, sealing, and monitoring. So that's a Gantt chart. Okay, next is documenting accidents at work. So the documentation of the accident investigation is the evidence of post-accident proceedings. So the documentation involves preparing a protocol for the circumstances and causes of the accident, filling out a statistical card on the accident at work, and recording the accident in the register of the establishment. So next is we have registration and analysis of non-injury incidents. So therefore, the system structure should include three basic components. We have identification and registration of non-injury incidents, their analysis, and preventive actions. So this figure is we have the system of registration and analysis of non-injury incidents at a high-risk establishment. So it should the person should have training. They should be informed by awareness and information dissemination and motivational activities. So this will be included in the identification and registration of non-injury incidents. So it can be in oral notifications, protocol form, and other sources. And then next is we have, because we already have the registered non-injury incidents, is we have the non-injury incidents analysis. So it can be analysis of individual incidents or organizational unit or plant level analysis. And then last but not the least is we have the preventive actions we have after each incident or resulting from periodical analysis of each event. Okay, next is we have accident prevention. So prevention is a set of procedures aimed at avoiding the occurrence of adverse events. So for accident prevention, again, there are videos that are available in the internet that you can download for you to better understand, of course, accident prevention. As I've said, accident happens because of unsafe acts. So for you to prevent accidents is you should avoid unsafe acts in general. Okay, next is we have types of preventive actions for accidents. So programs focus on conditions recommend the application of technical or organizational safety measures and are referred to as a technical prevention. And then the programs that facilitate actions are referred to as psychological prevention. So Haddon formulated 10 principles for the selection of preventive strategies. So first is prevent the occurrence of threats at their source. Next is reduce the quantity of energy generated or consumed. Next is prevent release of existing hazardous energy. Next is reduce the speed at which hazardous energy released from its source is dispersed. Next, separate the threat from the object to be protected in space and in time. Next is separate the threat from the object to be protected by placing a material barrier between them. Next is modify the basic characteristics of hazards. Next is increase the protection of the object to make it more resistant to the damage that may be caused by the hazard. Next is counteract the damage already caused by the active threat and stabilize, repair, and restore the damaged object. So Rankin and Sabetakis have proposed two other prevention strategies to reduce human fallibility and raise the individual's resistance to dangerous practices. So they recommend devising and applying detailed procedures for the performance of particularly hazardous tasks. So again, we have they should have training for these hazardous tasks. And then they propose increasing individuals' reliability by, so first is providing workers with training and knowledge so that they can recognize hazards and take safe actions in a hazardous situation. Next is disseminating information on hazards. Next is equipping people with appropriate specialized tools where required, such as PPEs. Next is allocating tasks suited to the physical and mental abilities of those entrusted with their implementation. Next is motivating rather the workers to act safely and avoid risks. And then limiting exposure to physical and emotional stressors. So the basic criteria for selecting preventive measures are first is compliance with regulations, cost for the company, effects on the employee, durability of the activities, impact range, time of application, and possibility of risk relocation. So next is the selection of preventive measures does not guarantee their effectiveness. They must be implemented correctly to be effective. And then therefore, persons responsible for monitoring the implementation, definition, and control of the completion deadlines must be designated. Moreover, to increase the effectiveness of these activities, employees must understand their usability and significance. So, we're already finished with our lessons, accidents at work. So, as I have said, accidents are inevitable. No one wants accidents. So, the only way is to prevent it. Of course, accidents, as I've read stories or I've watched movies or videos about accidents that is happening. Being unsafe is being selfish because you're not, of course, selfish that you're not thinking of others. So that's why there's a theory of the domino effect and be always safe so that your loved ones will not worry. So if you do have any questions, so please feel free to comment below and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel So I hope that you've learned something from this lesson all about accidents at work. Again, for additional information, there are many information and videos regarding accidents, accident preventions, and the causality theories. They're also in the internet. So, again, thank you very much. God bless and stay safe.